Hey, all you Holly weirdos. We are hoping that you're staying cool this summer because we are definitely trying to summon a ghost or two because these electricity bills are definitely not paying themselves, considering the fact that it's been one hot and crazy summer, along with some pretty interesting earthquakes. Now, as you know, I've been recently doing a lot of traveling and we've been taking a bit of a break because, once again, it is the summer. We need to relax and we need to recoup. And if you know me, you know I'm going to do some spooky traveling. And recently I went back to my hometown of New Orleans, where I got to travel and meet some amazing friends of the podcast now who work in some pretty interesting and haunted places in New Orleans. Some you may have heard of, that you may have seen on a very popular show, and another one that has been showcased on another popular show, but is not much talked about when it comes to haunted hotels in the French Quarter. So the two places that I'm talking about are the haunted Vessel Restaurant and the Hotel Royal, which is located almost in the heart of the French Quarter. And this is a very interesting hotel that is not much talked about, but the stories that I collected are absolutely astonishing. But don't fret, Bryce and myself are definitely gearing up for new episodes along with some new guests to come onto the podcast. So it's definitely going to be a delicious, spooky 2024-2025 for Hollyweird Paranormal. But in the meantime, we could get Hollyweird in my home city of New Orleans once more as we travel to the haunted restaurant of Vessel and haunted Hotel Royal. Another amazing announcement that I wanted to make is that I will be appearing at this year's Gold Country Paracon located in Jackson, California, which is just an hour and a half outside of Sacramento, California. This is an awesome little Paracon. There's going to be so many amazing vendors and speakers. I myself will definitely be one of them. I will be a part of a panel talking about women in the paranormal. Other speakers also include the famed psychic medium Sarah Lemus. You probably have seen her on a few of the popular paranormal shows alongside Intuitive Tawny, who is another great psychic and paranormal investigator, and Dr. Lloyd Auerbach, who is a famed parapsychologist, alongside Daryl Martson of Ghost Hunters. And if you want to find more information about this Paracon along with purchasing tickets, you can head on over to goldcountryparacon.com. There will also be walking ghost tours and paranormal investigations, along with ghost tours in and around the Jackson cemeteries. This is an old mining town, and you know there's a lot of great ghost stories attached to that area. All right, all you weirdos, let's get Hollyweird in my home city of NOLA as we travel to the haunted Vessel and the haunted Hotel Royal. Hey friends, as Bryce and myself are gearing up for more episodes of Hollyweird Paranormal, I wanted to present to you this spicy Cajun amuse-bouche of an episode as I take you with me on a virtual driving tour, not walking, because if you want the feeling of being cremated, then you'll definitely have that feeling when you travel to New Orleans during the summer, because it is sticky, icky, and crispy. Now make sure you grab your chanclas along with some breathable light color clothing, because we are definitely going to be touring some pretty interesting places in and around New Orleans. Now we're going to hop in my car, my little Toyota rental, as we head to 3835 Iberville Street. And this location is called the Vessel Restaurant. Now you might have remembered it from a little show called The Dead Files under the episode Dead Vessel. And all I have to say is, if you think some of those restaurants in the French Quarter are haunted, well, this one will definitely prove you wrong, considering that it's only 14 minutes away from the French Quarter. And if you're anything like me, and at times Bryce, depending on the location, we do like a good place that has a good meal, a good cocktail and wine list, and of course, a good set of ghost stories. And Vessel just so happens to have a majority of everything you can think of. History, along with a New Orleans socialite, attempted murder paired very well with a side of ghost stories from the owners and even the current staff workers of Vessel. Now, this is served with a delicious fine wine and a beautiful plate of crawfish étouffée. Okay, so where do we begin with the story of Vessel? Well, let's start in the middle. The story begins in 2015 when business partners Alec Wilder and Eddie Dyer decided that they wanted to open a restaurant serving some of the best cocktails in town. Wilder has roots in real estate, and Dyer is an owner of the local delicious craft beer bar, The Bulldog, which I clearly remember having many libations during college at this one particular bar off of Magazine Street, which if you haven't gone, you must go. Wilder has had a special gift his entire life. He's a psychic and medium who can see and sense paranormal activity. When Wilder was looking for the location of his new cocktail bar and restaurant, he had a vision of a building that used to be something else. This is what he quotes. He then reached out to a real estate friend to find out if anything that matched the description had been put on the market recently. Now, according to an interview in Offbeat magazine, Wilder says, the first thing she asked me was if I was a psychic. She told me that the Power of Redemption restaurant was thinking about selling the building and it used to be a church. Now, Wilder knew that this was a sign, so he bought the building, which dates back to 1914, sight unseen. The space would soon become known as Vessel, a restaurant offering a menu emphasizing locally sourced, fresh seasonal ingredients and a uniquely New Orleans tradition. But there was a lot of work to be done. Wilder explained that as soon as he walked into the building, he felt like something was off, something he described as a heavy feeling. Now, I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Wilder over the phone to get permission to speak with some of the staff members about their experiences in Vessel. And he mentions that after he purchased Vessel is when things really started to go downhill. Was it paranormal or just a case of bad luck? He describes in our conversation that after discovering a crack in the foundation, he contacted the Sewerage and Water Board, insisting they come out and investigate the issue immediately. It was discovered that a sewer line attached to the building had collapsed and the entire building was in danger of falling over and the foundation needed to be rebuilt. That was an issue that could have been easily written off as bad luck, right? But soon other odd things began happening in the space. Like the compressor went out, brand new refrigerators would just stop working without any explanation, and the walk-in cooler died right before the opening of Vessel. Things were getting misplaced and doors that had been locked would be discovered to have been unlocked the next morning. There was a coldness in the staircase that no one could explain, and employees reported feeling as if they were being pushed down the stairs. Water would mysteriously spill, and beer cans would explode on their own. After the restaurant opened in the summer of 2016, the men hired to work in the restaurant didn't last long, while the women working there were actually thriving. Wilder and other people would hear random noises that had no explanation, and he recalled seeing a monk figure walking around the restaurant. According to Wilder, it got to a point that we really started to believe that we were cursed. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, this is just a rare occasion of coincidences, right? Well, if you know us in this podcast, we made this comment time and again. There's no such thing as coincidences, just synchronicities. And it just so happened that those synchronicities would catch the ears of on one particular show on the Travel Channel, The Dead Files. Now, they have been investigating the paranormal since 2011. Medium Amy Allen and former NYPD homicide detective Steve Dushavy traveled to the country investigating haunted locations looking for paranormal activity. So Wilder sent the show producers security footage of what seemed to be a bright orb on the patio, and his phone call was returned almost immediately. The show only investigates cases they believe to be completely authentic. Producers are contacted about 15,000 cases of paranormal activity a year, and the story about Vessel's haunting was one of 26 cases the team decided to take on during this particular season. So, in other words, everyone knew that they had something special on their hands, and they were determined to get to the bottom of it. Now, during the episode, Amy Allen could immediately sense a presence of spirits, says she had trouble breathing, and she sensed the spirit of a very angry female. Through Allen and Steve DeShavi's investigation, they discovered that the mysterious activity is likely linked to the spirit of Michaela Leonarda Antonia de Almanester, Rojas de la Ronanda, Baroness of Del Pantaba. Born in 1795 in New Orleans, the Baroness, let's just say, had BITCH in charge. You see, she was a Creole aristocrat and businesswoman who inherited a part of her father's vast fortune when she was only 2.5 years old. She married at 16 to her cousin and moved to France. Now, her husband, Joseph Xavier Celestin de la Foix de Pontalba, held her as virtual prisoner in their chateau. Her and her father-in-law, Baron de Pontalba, tried for 2 decades to gain control of her inheritance. The Baron would even go as far as to shoot the Baroness in the chest before committing suicide himself. The Baroness survived the attack. Surprisingly, she was literally shot 3 times. She separated from her husband/cousin and thrived. She went on to design the Pontalba buildings in Jackson Square here in New Orleans, as well as the Hotel de Pontalba in Paris, where she lived until her death in 1874 at the age of 78. Steve DeShavi's research uncovered that the Baroness once owned the land that vessel sits on. She told Allen that she had to go there for safety and expressed a great distrust for men. Allen also mentions that vessel was haunted by many spirits, but the Baroness and her father-in-law were the most dominant presences. The Baroness was pretty much responsible for pushing men out of the building, and the Baron was responsible for the nastier tricks like leaving the burners in the kitchen on overnight. Wilder and Dyer have both done work to calm the spirits who share their space, and Wilder says that things have become a lot calmer since hiring mostly women to work at Vessel. It seems that Wilder and Dyer aren't the only ones with stories of Vessel's hauntings. Wilder says that since the show aired, other people have told them about experiences with the paranormal in their location. Even Celeste Bergeron McCann, the former owner of Christian's Restaurant, which was once in the building that Vessel now occupies, has her own stories of encounters with spirits in that space, which also parallel with the accounts of the workers of Vessel, which is also very, very interesting. For now, everyone at Vessel, according to Wilder and Dyer, seem like they have come to an understanding. Wilder and Dyer want to encourage more women to actually visit Vessel. And according to an interview they done with Off Beef magazine, they have stated that they want Vessel to be a place that women could regularly frequent, he says. Happy hour is still offered daily at this beautiful restaurant in MidCity from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So you can actually go and raise a glass to the Baroness de Pontalba and thank her for being a very welcoming host, and to plead with her not to push you out, especially if you are a gentleman. Now, for those who ever want to bookmark this restaurant, you can go and have a great cocktail, a great glass of wine. Their wine selection is delicious. You can find Vessel at 3835 Iberville Street in New Orleans. It's just 12 minutes outside of the French Quarter. And I believe you can take the Red Line streetcar to the Canal Cemeteries, go have a great meal, probably walk up and down Canal, catch a couple of glimpses of some potentially haunted cemeteries, and have a night. Now, after I got off the phone with Mr. Wilder, I was able to go and visit some of the staff members and interview them at Vessel. And of course, he was right. A lot of the workers majority of them are female, and a lot of them were very open with their experiences with me. All right, so let's hop into my little Toyota rental as we head to 3835 Iberville Street. We're going to pull up into the parking lot. There is ample parking. And as you get out of the car, you'll notice it is just a big white church. church. Now, this was a Lutheran church back in the day, and it seems like all the exterior really hasn't changed. You'll notice on your right, there is a large patio area. Now, this is the area where they have captured the orb on the security cameras. Now, we head to the entrance. We have to climb a couple of steps, and this door definitely makes you feel like you're about to be summoned to church. Indeed, you enter and you're immediately greeted by stained glass and an open seating area. You go to your right and there is this beautiful open food hall-like area of vessel. It's just nothing but beautiful stained glass windows and vaulted ceilings. On your left is a very elaborate and decorated bar. Now it is 4:30, so we just made it in time for happy hour because it's, drink 30 somewhere all the time in New Orleans. We're going to grab a nice cold glass of Pinot Gris because it is pretty hot and crispy outside and we need to cool off, and we're definitely going to cool off with these ghost stories. So we're going to sit and talk to the bartender, and here is his experience while working in Vessel.
So I've worked here since March, but since then I remember one day, it was a Sunday morning before anyone came in. It was just me and the servers. They were sitting all over there. I was doing stuff behind the bar. All of a sudden we heard the door open. We were like, oh, first customers, and we all walked over there and there was no one in the parking lot. There's just the door completely opened and then completely slammed shut.
And that's a heavy door, too.
It's a very heavy door.
Yeah.
I've been in here during a really big storm. That door did not move.
Wow.
So that was weird. Then another time when it was actually during the day of that storm that I was here, I was putting away wine in the wine closet late at night after everyone else had left. I was the last person in the building. And while I was putting the wine away, we call it the creepy wine closet because it's like really narrow and compact. And that window right there is the other end of it. You could see that through that window from inside the creepy wine closet. And while I was in there putting boxes away, I looked up and I could see a silhouette of a person in the window. And it freaked me the hell out. I closed it and I left. But there was no one else in the building. I was the last person to lock up.
Was the silhouette like a female or a male form?
It was a female. They were not that tall, but it was like they had their body pressed against the glass.
Have any other people who have worked here had similar experiences?
Well, like I said, I had a lot of witnesses for the door one. There were 8 people here that morning.
Well, that's good.
But that one, I don't know. I've heard of people saying they have witnessed seeing a female out of the corner of their eye and stuff like that. But as far as the silhouette thing, I'm the only one that happened to.
So the bartender takes me to the area of the wine closet, which is behind the dining hall. It kind of is sequestered between the dining hall and the entrance of the patio right next to the restrooms. He opens the door and you can see a vast collection of wine. And then towards the end of the closet, you see the stained glass window. It's approximately almost 6 feet tall. So if someone from the dining room area stands behind this window, you'll definitely see their silhouette. Now, I'm going to be very honest. As much as I love wine closets that have vast amounts of wine, this one was a little eerie, I'm not going to lie. Now, after we exit the wine closet, I am directed back to the dining room where I'm greeted by a table of servers. Now, they're all talking. I think they're having a bit of a dinner before they head home or before they head into their shift. And I notice a majority of them are women. And I approach the table, introduce myself, and ask them if they have any ghost stories connected to Vessel that they wish to share for the podcast. And sure enough, all of them were eager to share. And here's what a lot of them had to say.
So one of the kitchen workers told me a story about how one of the employees was walking down the stairs and all of a sudden he just felt something push him and he fell down the stairs.
Oh, wow.
So that was the story. That's one of the experiences I've heard about it.
And he is a man, right?
Yes.
So I heard that whomever's here, which is most likely the Baroness,
yes,
hates men.
Yeah.
Loves the women, protects them at all costs.
She has a mean push, apparently.
I never saw a push a woman by this, and a couple of people being pushed, going out the entrance. Going outside. I see a lot of men being pushed. I did experience a few things. I experience a presence upstairs in the hallway. I feel a very strong presence. Actually, I feel wind. I feel like it's nothing there, so I feel wind. I actually did chill bumps talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I definitely feel her presence. She definitely will let you know she's here. She will roll down paper towels.
Wow.
I had one guest that actually ate here, and she told me she was in a stall in a bathroom and she saw old boots. And I was like, she said, did anyone die here? I'm like, yeah. And she said, I saw boots that was very old, centuries ago old, and I think it was a ghost. And I told her it was a ghost. It definitely was a ghost. You know, it was her. You know, it's she. So, in other words, she definitely shows her presence.
Now, this was a very interesting story, and I later find out that it's one of Vessel's most popular ghost stories. It's the old boots, or 19th century boots in the women's restroom story. So, as the server is explaining, there is a female patron who goes and uses the women's restroom. She's sitting in the stall doing her business, but she gets this overwhelming feeling that someone or something is sitting in the stall next to her. She looks down and notices a pair of what looks like period women's boots. They definitely don't look like of this time period. And she looks kind of away from where the boots were sitting. Then she looks back and notices, wait, the boots have completely disappeared. Whomever or whatever was sitting next to me did not make a noise or did not exit. I would have heard them. But I certainly saw a pair of what looked like to be old school women's boots from the 19th century. And she definitely felt that whatever was next to her was most likely a ghost.
And is it just her, or is there another entity that people claim that is?
I honestly think it's just her.
It's just her. Okay. And do you have any experience?
We I talked to a guest who
To come around to her?
or no, a co-worker, Tatiana, who had said that she had a guest that went to the bathroom and saw a lady's like 1900 boots.
That's the
Yes.
truth. Wow.
And she was standing in front of the stall, and she just saw
Or
boots.
she was like in the, or she
the
was in the
next
stall.
stall.
It was the next stall over, and then all of a sudden the boots were gone.
Yep.
And I was like, that makes perfect sense for the time because of the type of shoes that they wore.
Right.
So,
And you haven't had anything personal.
no, not here. I've had it at a different place, but
place?
not here. The
Napoleon.
New Orleans Creole Cookery.
No way.
Old Man
So it's
William.
wait, so it's true.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors about that place.
Old Dirty Man William. 4 different times while I worked there for like 7 months, and 4 different times I ended up with a white handprint on my behind.
Wow.
And it wasn't like I brushed my hands myself where, you know, with some dust, because it was the way the handprint was. I would have had to like brush that, you know, go like that.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I'm in the
Dirty-
middle of a hot cat.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Dirty old man. We got some dirty ghosts and some.
But yeah, I couldn't work there anymore. It freaks me out. And then the fountain would go on by itself. And there was this one light right in the middle of the carriageway where apparently a horse and a stable boy or whatever was killed falling from the horse. And it's like almost like the horse going through, it's like the light goes out. And it's that one light that goes out all the time. And no other lights will burn out, but it burns out all the time.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, that place was definitely full of.
You're like, no. You went
Full
from
of
one haunted
spirits.
place to the next one, but you're like, I'll tolerate this one at least.
No, it's funny because like when I started, I didn't even realize, I wasn't paying attention, you know, that it was like haunted like that. Like I didn't read the story. I just
Girl.
haunted every place in New Orleans. It's like
This place scares me. My manager also told me, like, the manager here, her name is Tammie. She told me when she's here alone, she hear footsteps, she hear laughing, she hear a lot of things just going up, down. She hear a lot of activities going on when she hears by herself. So she told me, you do not want to be here alone at night, in the morning when you open. She said she hear a lot of things going on, and you have to realize she's here by herself.
Yeah.
Definitely spirits.
The bartender was telling me that it seems like it's active more in the opening and closing stages.
It is.
Wow.
It is. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy, but hey, we're
Crazy. Yeah, I told you I literally get goosebumps talking about it because I do feel presence.
Yeah.
Well, I believe in voodoo. I believe in spirits. I believe in all that. So
This is a very spiritual city.
it is. My grandma actually studied voodoo, so I believe it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And we all believe it, of course. They were certainly an amazing group of individuals. You could tell that, they love their job. They love this restaurant. It does freak them out, but they go about it in stride. And we were definitely hitting the happy hour, of course. But they were so amazing with sharing their experiences. And not only that, we got an extra hefty helping of ghost stories attached to another haunted restaurant in New Orleans, the New Orleans Creole Cooking Kitchen, which I heard through the grapevine. It is pretty haunted. And there we go. We got it validated right there by a former worker from a ghost that likes to pinch women's butts. Now we go from this table of servers to another worker, a vessel. And this is Eric. I'm directed to Eric because I am told that he actually has had many experiences, more than anyone in that restaurant, because Eric actually worked in that location when it was Christians and transitioned from Christians to vessel as a line cook. Now, what's very unique about Eric's experience, especially with his experience with the Baroness, is that I think the Baroness kind of has a soft spot for Eric. After talking to him, I could tell like he's a really good person. He's very open, he's very honest, and he's very genuine. And based on his experiences, it definitely seems like the Baroness wants to make her presence known with him. And surprisingly, she hasn't pushed Eric down a flight of stairs, let alone out of the entire restaurant. Now, while I'm talking to Eric, we're also greeted by another worker who goes on to share other stories. So you'll hear a couple of them chime in with their experiences, and here are their accounts.
Things that you have occurring here that you can explain.
That we can't. The paper towel dispensers will go off randomly.
Really?
Yeah, that one goes off a lot because this is where it's that part. It ain't 300,000 minutes. Like when I stand near the sink a lot of times, sometimes it goes to poke me in my side right here.
Oh, so they'll just poke you right there.
Yeah. Why do you be poking me? I don't know. I'm always talking to just for GP. But that dispenser goes off randomly, daily.
Have you ever been pushed or have you felt any
Besides the poking?
besides the poking?
No pushing. But that swinging door
Yeah.
will swing open randomly.
Wow.
You know, like I'll be over here and I'll see the door swing and I'll go see if someone went in or out of it. Nobody.
And is that door heavy?
It's sort of. It's not really heavy.
On camera in here one night, there was an orb that came from behind the light, and it's about this big. It just kind of floated across the kitchen, around the kitchen, and then went back from behind the light, and it was kind of disappeared. But did you put it up on
YouTube.
on the what's that thing? Dead Files?
Yeah.
You watched it on Dead Files?
I saw the episode on Dead Files of the one outside that they caught.
On the patio?
Yeah.
I saw that one too.
That is what you saw behind the line here? Or
No, that was something different. No.
Really?
Yeah.
What did this one look like?
It was just a big round, like a basketball sized, just kind of.
Wow. What do you feel like when you're here? Do you feel like it's a threatening presence? No, you feel
I've
good?
never felt that, no.
Okay,
I've never
good.
felt threatened by anything. But I've heard a woman's voice, not any clear words, but just kind of making a noise. Like right in this area here, I would be in the kitchen and I would hear it right here a couple of times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is she just talking or is she?
No, it's just like a noise, just like
Oh, wow.
like a loud noise. Did you see the brochure?
No, I haven't.
Get your brochure.
Oh, there's a brochure
Yeah.
that tells you about everything? Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Harold.
And yes, Vessel Nola has a slew of brochures by the entrance of the restaurant. On the very front, it says, "Come dine at Vessel Nola. Eat, drink, congregate in a haunted church." It's no wonder why we're all attracted to the city, us macabre travelers and paranormal enthusiasts. The city thrives on ghosts. It has no problems marketing the ghosts and their stories. It's really good for business. They have pride and take pride in a lot of the entities that reside within their establishments, both the hotels and the restaurants. Ghosts are good for business, but most ghosts mean business, like the Baroness de Pontalba. So real quickly, let's go over a lot of the occurrences and unexplainable accounts that occur within the Vessel restaurant. Based on my notes and based on Alec, the owner, and the workers, the Baroness de Pontalba has definitely been seen in and around the property. She is a full-body apparition that is known to be in different places of the restaurant, the first and the second floor. She's oftentimes seen wearing a red dress. She's the most prominent and dominant entity of Vessel. Another full-body apparition that is not much talked about or seen is the Red Monk. It's a monk that is in a red robe and is oftentimes seen in certain areas of the restaurant. Another one that is not often recorded and talked about is the apparition of the Baroness's father-in-law, whom Amy Allen did pick up on during her walkthrough. Now, another physical manifestation that is oftentimes seen specifically by the line cooks, mainly in the kitchen and in the patio area, are the large basketball-size orbs. Now, what was really interesting about my interview with the line cooks is that they have all vouched and validated with each other that they've seen this large ball of light that is the size of a basketball. And this is something that obviously we can't dispute and claim that it's insects or just dust. Okay, but what about the secondary physicality of the hauntings? The pushing, the shoving, the poking. Now, based on what I collected and what you heard from other servers, the Baroness has a mean push. And I believe that she's in charge of pretty much deciding who gets the last call. Many of the servers have noticed that a lot of the male patrons who have drank a little too much are the ones that get pushed out of the restaurant and even pushed down the stairs as they're exiting the patio. And then there's Eric, the line cook, who's mentioned that he's been poked quite a few times, and he believes that it could be connected to the Baroness, which makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's her letting him know that she's there, or maybe, in every sense of the word, poking fun at him. Now, in the episode of Dead Vessel on the Dead Files, Amy Allen says that there's also a lot of outside energy that comes into this establishment. So based on my research on the map and the geography of where Vessel is currently located, it's in MidCity. Just a few blocks away, you have two bodies of water. You have Bayou St. John and Bayou Metairie. And if you know, then you know, and remember that water is a major conduit with energies and manifestations, right? Upon further research on the location, I noticed Vessel's not too far away. Actually, it's 6 blocks away from pretty large cemeteries. It's only 5 blocks away from the Masonic Temple Cemetery, number 1. It's 4 blocks away from the St. Patrick's Cemetery, number 1. And it's 7 blocks away from the Oddfellow Cemetery. So you have this body of water, you have an active location with entities and energies, and all that could be a huge smorgasbord in this area that can pretty much attract whatever's around there. Closer to the tail end of my investigation and interview, I was highly recommended to go to the second level. I was given permission by Alec and one of the line cooks because this is pretty much an area where they feel that the Baroness and even her father-in-law can mostly be felt and seen. But I had a feeling that it was going to be a bit challenging considering that they were open for business. There are a lot of things left on, like refrigerators on the second level. There's a lot of commotion in the patio, so it was going to be a bit of a tricky EVP session. But I wanted to go and experience the second floor on my own. And then I'm given this warning by one of the line cooks.
So right up there?
Go upstairs, where I said the landing right here.
Okay.
Office right here. Liquor room on this side, and another office to there.
Okay.
Now go ahead. It's at your own risk. Now, whatever happens to you up there,
That's okay. I've been in scarier places. Thank you. I won't be too long.
Upon my arrival on the second floor, I noticed that there were a couple of refrigerators on my left. In front of me was another room that was open. It looked like a storage area for condiments and more liquor. And on my right, there were two doors that looked like they could have been led to one of the offices. Now, I remember watching a video of an investigation conducted by Kevin Betzer of Deep South Paranormal in October of 2023. Him and his crew conducted an investigation using ITC devices, and they entitled the episode 100-Year-Old Haunted Restaurant. And during one of their EVP sessions, through one of their devices came through a voice that was undoubtedly the voice of a woman, and all of them, especially Alec, believed that this was the Baroness. I sat in the middle of the second floor and made my acquaintance to whatever energies were around me, especially the Baroness. I recorded the session, which I only was able to record for 20 minutes. Like I said, it was an actively open restaurant. They were open for business, so there was a lot of commotion, talking in the dining hall downstairs that was carrying to the second level, and also the noises of the refrigerator. Plus, other people were also coming up and down the stairs, so it was a little difficult to conduct the session. But the feeling that I got on the second level was definitely a little heavier compared to the bottom level. However, I didn't get poked or pushed or shoved. The Baroness didn't talk to me, nor did she appear in front of me. After my session, I went downstairs and said my goodbyes to the staff and even Eric and thanked them for sharing their stories. Now, the biggest question is, folks, is Vessel, New Orleans haunted? 100%. I mean, the accounts, the full body apparitions, everything, the history of the Baroness and the land. And oftentimes we've talked about this time and time again. Bryce even stresses it in a lot of our episodes. There's layers and layers of history. And especially when it comes to a city of New Orleans, you know there's a ton of layers there. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the French Quarter. It's outside of it. And trust me, in MidCity, there's tons of layers. Look into the Ghosts of City Park. That is a place that has a ton of layers and ghost stories. But you also have to remember too that Vessel at one point was a restaurant called Christian's. So the workers there who had those accounts pretty much parallel with the ones that the current staff of Vessel have. All right, folks, let's finish our Pinot Grigio, get back into the car, because now we're going to make our way to the French Quarter. We're going to meet our friend Marisol. Now, my friend Marisol has worked in and around the hotels of the French Quarter for several years. She's originally from California, lived in San Diego, and decided, what the hell, packed up everything and moved to New Orleans to live the dream, where she ended up working in hospitality in the French Quarter, and she absolutely loves it. But little did she know that not only was she going to be working with some tourists, she was going to be working with some ghosts. All right, guys, let's tip the bartender and let's le Bon Temps Boo-ule into my rental as we head to the French Quarter, because our next stop is going to be Hotel Royal. All right, you weirdos, our next stop is going to be 1006 Royal Street. But many, many moons ago, this street was known as Rue Royal. And according to the hotel's historic site, their historic New Orleans hotel story actually begins in May 12th of 1784, when the first recorded transaction of 106 Rue Royal Street, which was 1 block away from the historic French Quarter's Bourbon Street, where the Hotel Royal currently resides. Francisco Landreau filed a claim for part of his mother's historic New Orleans estate, including 1006 Rue Royal Street. At that time, the estimated worth of the historic New Orleans property on Royal Street was approximately 3,000 pesos, the equivalent to $180 a day. Construction on the New Orleans Royal Street property didn't begin until the early 1800s, when the historic Creole townhouse was finally built. Now, according to the Vieux records, Honro Landreau acquired the historic property at 1006 Rue Royal Street and commissioned Courjols and Chaigneau to design a Creole townhouse on the site between 1827 and 1833. Landreau enjoyed the Royal Street property as a private residence until the 1940s, when part of the historic New Orleans residence was transformed into a public laundromat. By the 1960s, tourism was growing big in New Orleans, specifically around the historic French Quarter, and predominantly around Royal Street. The historic structure at 1006 Rue Royal Street was renovated into the Noble Arms Inn Hotel, providing tourists and locals with New Orleans hotel rooms and suites in the heart of the historic French Quarter. By 1984, the New Orleans historic Noble Arms Inn on Royal Street was renowned by many, landing itself a feature in the World's Fair Accommodations Directory. By 2011, it was finally transformed and fully renovated into what is now known as Hotel Royal. They truly kept the exterior of the cast iron balconies along with the traditional and quaint courtyard within the hotel that actually caught the eyes of producers for the hit show The Originals. There's a ton of history that surrounds Hotel Royal. It's actually around the entire street, Royal Street. It's one of the most historic streets in New Orleans. And let me tell you, every hotel on that street definitely has a ton of ghost stories. It dates back to the early 18th century. In its early life, Royal Street was considered one of the most prestigious locations in New Orleans. Wealthy merchants, business travelers, and aristocrats often frequented Royal Street in the historic French Quarter for its New Orleans-style luxuries and cafes, especially hotels. By the 19th century, Royal Street was a well-known destination for history, business, and shopping in New Orleans' historic French Quarter. And some of that history you can literally see right next door to Hotel Royal. The hotel shares a wall with one of New Orleans' most historic bakeries, Rufino's Bakery, which if you never had a muffaletta, let alone a muffaletta loaf, you're missing out. But keep Rufino's Bakery in mind because we'll definitely touch on that location as to why it could possibly be contributing to some of the hauntings attached to Hotel Royal. Whew, I don't know about you guys, but I am already sweating outside because it is really hot, humid, and sticky, icky out here on these streets. We need to go inside. We need to cool down with these ghost stories and with some good AC. So I'm going to follow Marisol. Follow me. We're going to go into the hotel lobby. Instantly, you can already feel that there's something in this hotel. Greeting us is Perry, one of Marisol's friends and also co-workers. Now, Marisol used to work in Hotel Royal and she knows Perry. She introduces me to Perry, who, by the way, I can instantly tell that Perry is the keeper of ghost stories. He has had quite a few experiences. Now let's sit down and listen to what he has to say about the Hotel Royal.
I had my ink, my pen actually like was tossed like right in front of my face, like literally. Did I tell you this story? No. I swear I was in the front, and my food just got done in the back. And I had my pen way on the other side of the desk. So I got up. As I turned my back, as soon as I turned my back, I heard "Wow!" And when I looked down, it was actually my personal ink pen on the ground. So I'm not sure if I turned and it time for it to miss or tried to miss and get my attention. But that mother from way over here, it stunk way across my face. I promise, I swear. And then one time, it seemed like everything happened when I turned my back, you know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. So I was in the front desk, and I turned around to get my food. As I turned around, I literally turned around, I heard a voice, it was a female voice, beautiful voice, and she was like, hello. And I turned around, I swear to God, there was nobody right there. And at the time, the doors was loud, like when it shut, there was no engines. What's up, brother? Hey, how's it going? And at the time, I think you would say at the time, this door like had the word suspensions on it, so it was slammed when it closes. Yeah. And it make noises when it opens.
This one right here?
This the one right here. Just came through. Oh. So it slams when it opens. When it closes, but it makes a lot of noise when it opens. The front door would too, but they got that fixed system. So when I turned my back and I heard the voice, I turned around. I seen nobody. Then I realized, damn, I didn't hear no doors open or close before I heard the voice. I promise you, I'm like, damn. Yeah, that's what used to slam really bad. Real bad. Yep. Wow. I swear to God.
And what time, does this usually happen when this phenomenon happens to you?
So it's crazy. It happens like in the evening, like Like the either what time it is like what?
I think 8, yeah.
So I'll probably say like around 5 or something like that.
Whoa.
Like good in the evening, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And right at the front desk, we had some ghosts. I call them Ghostbusters, but like the people that come in.
The paranormal, yeah, the paranormal investigators and hunters, yeah.
And they came in one time. It was a small group, and they wanted to. They go across the country and stay hotels, right? And they bring out the equipment and stuff like that. And they came in the lobby. They actually do it in the lobby. I said, yeah, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? I didn't tell them my experience though. I didn't tell them what I experienced in the front because they ain't asked no questions, you know. And so they parted, we turned all the lights out in the lobby. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, we couldn't turn out the computers, but it was pretty much like black. And they brought their stuff out, and they said, "Can we come around behind the back office?" I said, "Yeah, cool." When they came to the back office, when they got the spot where I was at, man, it was like everything was going on. That was the spot. Remember, I was telling you, every time I turned around, it seemed like that's what stuff happens.
Yeah, things were happening.
Like in that area alone, right there, like all this stuff was going on.
Whoa.
And then there was they was recalling, they was asking, they asked the people questions and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Asked the entities questions, and they was asking the questions and like, what is your name and who? And when they played it back right there, they started recalling, and when they played it back, the voice came Gloria. It's crazy because I think Gloria is probably the woman's voice I heard. I'm talking about it's clear, it was audible. Like you ladies would talk to me. As soon as I turned my back, I heard a beautiful like hello. As soon as I turned back, it was like hello. Then I turned around, it was nothing
No
right
one there.
Like just that quick, you know what I'm saying? And she made that's probably Gloria. Oh shit.
I like that.
Was that what you got?
Is there a haunted room here that people have claimed, like?
So 21, I'm gonna go check, I'm not sure if someone's in there. Well, 20,
Is there a balcony room available that we can see?
I think so.
The royal balcony?
I think so, I'm gonna go check. But 21 is where I made it seem like she was saying that someone was choking her, like, you know what I'm saying? But she's the second guest that said that. That was a guy.
So 2 people have claimed that they felt as though someone was choking them.
Like choking,
And
like
the back
literally choking.
office and 21 are together.
Oh, together?
Yeah.
So maybe that's
There's a connection right
Yeah,
there.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. Like you really gonna have some experience working there. Like
I bet. Well, any place you work here, yeah.
Yeah, for real though. 'Cause, like, all this stuff is like built on top of like old graveyards. Like
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Back then, they'll just dig a big old dish and just do the bodies.
It's true. It's the guardians, what they call the House of Bourbon, the Bourbon family from the 17th century.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. I mean, you're walking over dead people.
Now, for many of you that know that the entire French Quarter is haunted, well, your reason is, well, it's a very old city. There's a lot of history. But little do a lot of people know that the St. Peter Cemetery that holds 8,000 to 12,000 people actually rests below the cracks of the sidewalk and the pothole-laden streets of the French Quarter. And above it are bars where you could get a hand grenade, shops where you could get your beads, a hardware store, plenty of hotel parking and parking lots, along with hotels, bed and breakfasts, and restaurants. Very few visitors of this part of town are aware of the massive amount of corpses and caskets that lay beneath them. You see, the St. Peter Cemetery established in 1726, until it was officially a cemetery for citizens of New Orleans until its closure in 1800. It had become filled with the brim of corpses, farm animals, and even human waste. It was literally a dumping ground for the city's massive death problem. 2 large fires and the constant threat of disease left mortality rates very, very low in the Crescent City. St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 was actually created in 1789 outside of the city limits, but slowly but surely, the St. Peter Cemetery became obsolete, meaning it was paved over and forgotten. You see, the dead were buried below ground, just as elsewhere in the United States. The city was suffering from massive yellow fever epidemics, and neither the land nor the resources to properly deal with it. Initially, the dead were placed below ground by the river in front of Jackson Square. Some were buried behind the St. Louis Cathedral in what is now St. Anthony's Garden. So if you were a high enough stature and position, you would be buried beneath the cathedral, merely a small church at the time. The St. Peter Cemetery was established in 1724 as the city realized it needed a cemetery outside of the city limits. Burying bodies in the center of the French Quarter was becoming problematic. Between Rampart, St. Anne, St. Peter, and Dauphine Street are where the cemetery once laid and still does today. Soon enough, even this location became outdated. The city's population grew, especially after the Spanish gained control in 1762, along with the population growth, which was a spike in the death toll. Yellow fever ravaged the streets of the cities. Bodies would pile in the streets. The death toll was so high, it took nearly 41,000 lives before a vaccine was invented in 1905, although records were not kept until 1817. To impact the issue, the water table in New Orleans was, and still, very high. Bodies very often would float away after burial, and in 1788 was a particularly hard year that overloaded the already bursting cemetery. A hurricane, crop failure, and a large fire that destroyed 80% of the city only increased the amount of dead buried there. The St. Peter Cemetery quickly became a bog full of dead bodies, caskets, and other human waste. It had become an impromptu sewage system for the city and a cesspool of disease. St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 was constructed on August 14th of 1789 to deal with the unsightly problem. But by 1802, the St. Peter Cemetery was paved over, and by the 1820s, was sorely forgotten, but not for long. You see, with the development of the French Quarter in the early 1900s and all the way up to now, people were not only just breaking ground, they were breaking caskets on accident. You see, you had reports dating back all the way to 1910 of discovering bodies and caskets, with the most recent occurrence happening in 2010. I actually remember this quite well because my mom actually sent me an article about this. She's like, because you like weird stuff like this, look what they found. Turned out that a man named Vincent Marcello was building a pool for his apartment complex. During the test, dig archaeologist Ryan Gray discovered something unusual about 4 feet down. At the end of it all, him and his crew discovered 15 coffins, 15, resting beneath the surface plot on North Rampart Street. This led to an extensive archaeological dig, which was extremely cumbersome, of course. Each coffin weighed around 600 to 800 pounds. These coffins held the remains of people from all walks of life: the French, Spanish, African American, Haitians, male and females, who were buried in St. Peter Cemetery, making it the first integrated cemetery in the city's history, if not America. By 2015, these bodies were finally moved to St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, where they now rest in peace. The archaeological crew had to acquire a special permit to dig and remove these bodies. Many visitors to the old part of the city will see empty plots of land scattered across it. Caskets were usually found in former cemeteries, but permits could not be acquired. As for Marcella's pool, it is referred to as the Pool of Souls today. So who knows, it's definitely lending a lot to the Poltergeist movie. You removed the headstones, but you left the bodies, right? So that is the reason why the entire French Quarter, for that matter, is haunted. You have the Mississippi, you have tragedy, you have famine, you have disease, and you are literally walking over thousands and thousands of dead people. All right, does anybody need a break? Is anybody hungry? You want to go around the corner to get some beignets and some cafe au lait? No lait? Okay, I understand. Dead people and coffee, along with beignets, I guess may not mix. Now let's continue on with Perry's story. He leads us into the patio where he describes one story from a hotel member that talks about a hotel guest that had to leave in the middle of the night due to what he felt and what he saw in his hotel room. And here's what Perry had to say.
So there was a guy that's there. I was off the day, you know.
Yeah.
And we had got a message, like everybody got a message, you know what I'm saying? And the group message or whatever. Was saying they'll die, like he was distraught, like he was almost have nervous breakdown because of these spirits, you know what I'm saying? But I think he was a Latino. And And what happened was, we used to like 3 nights, 4 nights, but he always stayed 2. Because we didn't realize what was happening to him, they couldn't take it like he had paranormal type. And so like he felt something was like 2 days, his fan would come on without even cutting on. And he felt like someone was choking him, like not like suffocating, but like literally like someone was choking you. As if he woke up as if he was gonna wake up to somebody like choking him, you know? He was expecting to see someone, but with no one there for 2 days, it went like that. And then it dawned on me, I guess, and like, oh shit, I'm in the first quarters, this place, and he came down and he was going off for the front desk. He was like, why didn't you tell me this place was haunted? And the front desk was like, you know what's that?
Man.
And he was like, yeah, something was choking me. Like, he was quiet. He was a grown man, straight guy. He was quiet.
Oh my God.
Like, he almost had a nervous breakdown. It was that serious. Like, everybody got a message about him, letting us know. They found us about the ordeal. That's how serious it was. Like, he almost had a nervous breakdown.
And it was in this building here.
Yep, it was in this building. And this building is called Rufino. And because it was Rufino was maker in the 1830s.
Oh, okay.
And there was a couple of so I have a guest in this building. We had a guest, 2 guests. They'll hear like a child playing in the hall or whatever, and they'll come out and they won't see anyone, they won't see each other. And they'll go back there, and then next thing you know, they hear it again, because they hear a woman call off for the child. And then they'll go out and there's no one there. And we had 2 guests that stated that, but this was like once a month. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
They didn't know each other like anything, like this is not told online or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So both of those guests that were court strangers got the same experience. And so I put 2 and 2 together. So the pen situation, when my pen was toast, what's my face?
Yeah.
I see like someone child would do. At instant I knew like, well, this pen, it seemed like someone child would do, you know? Because the voice I heard. And then the guest that told me about the child playing and the one coming out for a child, and when they come out, don't see them with. Now that to me seemed like maybe I had encountered with the same lady, or the child. You know what I'm saying? They constantly playing. You know what I'm saying? What's up, brother? Yeah. Yeah. You know, so I'm like, God. So instantly I knew that situation happened. I knew it was a child. Like I knew it was paranormal, but I knew it was childlike. So when the guest was talking about there was a child somewhere, and they asked, "Say, you got a child here?" I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Oh, you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been all day checking for a kid, you know."
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you hearing a child cussing, playing, but then I hear a woman call out for him, then they'll stop. And this is like the second guest that told me that same thing.
So here's a quick recap on Perry's story, and please pardon the audio. I tried to isolate the voices as best as I could since we were outside and there was a lot of outer noise pollution that was interfering with the audio. But real quickly, Perry was off this one particular night that his friend was working the front desk. Now, late one night, his friend was working the front desk and a hotel guest came running into the lobby and was a bit erratic. He was very upset to the point of tears, claiming that his hotel room was haunted and filled with ghosts. Originally, the gentleman was staying in the room for 3 days, but he only lasted 2, claiming that those 2 days he couldn't sleep because the ghosts kept on choking him in his sleep. He couldn't breathe, and once he woke up, he couldn't see anything. Surprisingly, this man was not staying in the most haunted room, which is room 21. He was actually staying on the 2nd floor in one of the rooms that connected and shared a wall with the former Rufino's bakery. Another story that Perry has also mentioned and will continue to talk about in our next audio clip interview with him is the ghost of the child. People who have stayed in this hotel, especially Perry, have experienced what seems to be the apparition of a young child, possibly a little boy. He likes to pull pranks and he likes to play in the courtyard. Now, another thing that Perry mentioned to me after the interview was the fact that at times the front desk would get complaints from hotel guests stating that they would hear a loud child playing in the courtyard really early in the morning. But oddly enough, there were no children staying in the hotel during that time period. But before I present my research and hypothesis of what could be connected to that haunting in that room where the gentleman couldn't sleep and was strangled, along with the connection of the little boy ghost, we're going to hear another story from Perry as he explains not one, but 2 experiences that he had, not only with the little boy ghost, but also with a young woman. So let's hear his story.
Right here. And so I had to come to the pen. I had my purse, and I had a different pen at the time. So I put my pen. I had a habit of doing that. So I had my pen right here. So I'm like this here. So as I went to the back, I heard the food getting done, right?
Yeah.
So as I got up, I did this. All I heard was, and I looked down. I'm like, God! I said, it was my pen. It literally tossed from way over here, and it literally missed my head. Like, so I turned my back, and it did. So something must have grabbed it real
That
quick.
was like a little kid probably trying to get your attention.
I know, and I wasn't sure if it was missing me on purposely, or I just moved the time enough for it to miss me. And let me tell you, the one with the name, with the voice. So I'm right here. And like I said, it seemed like I turned my back. You know what I'm saying? So as I got up, I turned my back, I did this, all I heard was hello, and I turned around, I said, how's it going? Like, nobody was right here, nobody.
And it was empty here.
It was empty, and then the doors at the time were
Both doors slammed.
it was slammed, yep.
So this one slammed?
Yep, like
Yeah, really hard.
real hard. If you close it,
Yeah. Oh, no, this is heavy. This is like, I needed to push it.
right, exactly. And at the
Oh,
time,
shit.
They got it fixed since, but at the time, that one was like it was nothing to support. That one was boom, boom, that one
It
was
was
boom.
not heavy, but it didn't have that. It didn't
Yeah, it didn't have the little hydraulic right there. Okay.
And it would make noise when you open it. Even the front door too would make noise when you open it. And if someone would have went through that door, I would turn back a time up to see the door close or whatever.
Right.
That was nothing. Like there was no. I didn't hear anything prior or after the voice. You know what I'm saying?
And you can hear someone coming through these doors.
Exactly. Yep. And it was a beautiful to me, it seemed like a voice from the 1800s. It seemed like a Victorian voice.
Oh, very soft, very.
Yeah.
You got happy and excited.
You
You heard me.
The voice was so beautiful. I turned around fast because I wanted to see what the face was like, girl. So I said, man, the voice was that beautiful. I said, the face got to be on
point.
Yeah, you know? I didn't see that little, like, she was gone, like, but it was like, to me, it seemed like she was checking in.
Yeah.
Like, what, in the 1800s maybe, like, you know what I'm saying? Because this sounded like a voice from a different century. Like,
Yeah.
It didn't sound like a voice you hear today. It sounded like a more like.
And you know when someone's here, like, hello.
Yeah. and it was beautiful, man. I'm talking about, I'm not going to exaggerate, but it almost like the fact that I turned around fast as I did, just to see the face, it was almost like a trance, like, how's it going? Like, I wanted to see the voice, the face so bad, but that was like, she wasn't there. She was.
Perry is really funny when he tells me this story. So he explains how he was at the front desk late one night, and when he turned around to go and grab his food that was being delivered on the side of the building, he heard what sounded like something hitting the wall. He turns around and noticed that a pen that he set right next to the computer by his chair flew from that area, from that space, across to hit the wall and almost hit him in the head. It was exactly almost 1.5 yards of distance from where he set the pen and where the pen hit the wall. Now, another occurrence happened where he heard the voice of a young woman coming into the lobby. He could have sworn that there was someone there, but there was no one sitting in the lobby. He said that the voice sounded very soft and very feminine, but definitely not of this time period, which, of course, you heard, excited him. But in the interview, you can hear me trying to open the door because Perry said if there was someone in here, I would have seen them. I would have heard them come into the lobby. The door makes a loud noise, and it's a heavy door. I went to go push the door and open it. It is certainly a heavy door, and as you heard in the interview, it is a very loud door. I asked Perry if he felt unsafe, and he said no. I just feel like they know me. I'm always here, I'm always working. So already he's built rapport, and I noticed this with a lot of individuals in haunted locations, especially businesses. They uphold a really good rapport with whatever's there. It wants them to know that they're there. And oftentimes, those energies want us to know that they're watching or they're ready to interact. But I'm still very curious at what is connected to room 21. That seems to be the most active room. But I was more intrigued with the gentleman's room, the one that checked out really early, that had that panic episode, the one that actually shares the wall with Rufino's. And I feel there might be a connection. You see, I talk about layers. Well, there's layers next door. It starts with Rufino's Bakery, and it starts with the Rufino family. Giuseppe Rufino, the head of the family, comes to New Orleans from Cinisi, Italy in 1892 with his wife Teresa. Together they had 10 children, all born in New Orleans, all born within the French Quarter. Giuseppe owned various properties within the French Quarter. He acquired the house at 630 on St. Philip Street in 1919. His next purchase a year later was the 625, 631 lot across the street, and his last holding on Philip Street was 628 in 1928. The family retained possession of these properties until the 1970s. With the purchase of the 625 lot, Giuseppe began the first of the Rufino businesses, Rufino's Bakery. This bakery quickly became a staple in the French Quarter. His obituary in the Times-Picayune mentions Rufino's Bakery and its presence in the area. Another article even states from 1995, a reproduced picture of the entire Rufino family taken in 1926, right in front of the bakery, right in the French Quarter, right next door to Hotel Royal. They call the bakery a long-time Vieux Carré fixture. If one wanders down the street today, the remnants of the bakery are still present. You could still see the sign, Rufino's Bakery. And above the garage of the 625 house stands proudly in black raised letters against a light gray background. Now here's a little thing too that is actually connected to the bakery. A death. It just seemed like Giuseppe couldn't catch a break after opening up Rufino's Bakery. You see, for Giuseppe, it was an act of kindness in 1927 that led to a very gruesome discovery in his bakery the next morning. In mid-December of 1927, Peter Parrott, a homeless vagrant, bid sanctuary from the brutal cold outside one evening. Giuseppe opened the doors to his garage of his bakery to the man for the night to protect him from the harsh elements. The next morning, Giuseppe would discover the body of Peter in the garage. The Times reported that officials claimed the death of natural causes. Another tragedy would occur in 1931 when a fire started in the bakery and spread to the neighbors. Damages totaled close to $6,400, only partially covered through insurance. Upon further research, I couldn't find anything else in terms of fatalities that were connected to the fire started by Giuseppe's bakery. However, my hypothesis is this. I feel like part of those hauntings is possibly connected to the Rufino's Bakery. Remember, we said layers. The Giuseppe's family had 10 children. Could it be possibly linked to the child entity? Could it be one of the Rufino's children? Not only that, Giuseppe Rufino also had a total of 25 grandchildren. And could that be possible that one of them actually returned back to a place that made them happy? Another possibility of the entities and haunting could be linked to Peter Parrott. Now, I know that death doesn't always create a ghost, but what if he's the only documented death attached to that one specific property that I could find? But what about the voice of the woman that Perry heard? What is her link to the entire property or area? Well, that is still a mystery. People have also claimed that they've heard and seen an apparition of a woman in room 21. Who she is, no one really knows, but could it be possible that she may be related to the Rufino family, or could it be possible that she is related to something else in the area? So real quickly, let's recap the haunting manifestations. People have seen the entity of a little boy, especially around the courtyard. They've heard him laugh in the mornings, and they've complained to the front desk about a little child running and laughing early in the morning in the courtyard. Perry feels a connection with this younger energy, as he's actually made communication with Perry not just once, but actually another time while a paranormal group went to investigate Hotel Royal. During a REM pod session, they claimed that they made communication with the little boy with Perry present. Perry asked the questions, is this the little boy that threw the pen? The REM pod went off. Perry also asked him if he likes being in the hotel and playing with Perry, and the REM pod went off again. Another entity that is linked to this property is that of a younger woman that people have often heard actually in room 21. What happens in room 21 is another interesting thing. Marisol also told me that people feel a negative presence there. They've also heard what sounded like people fighting in the room while they're sleeping in the room. Now, what is linked to the rooms that have the wall connected to Rufino's bakery? What made that one man, that one hotel guest, run in fear to the point where he was in tears, claiming that something was trying to strangle him? Now, based on Perry and another hotel staff member, that was the only negative instance where a hotel guest felt unsafe, was in their hotel room as though they were being strangled. There hasn't been any other accounts that are similar to that hotel guest. I feel that the Hotel Royal definitely has not one, but many presences. What they are, we still need to collect more data and more stories and experiences. I deem this inconclusive, but I definitely feel that something is there, and it's not just connected to the hotel. It's connected to many things that surround the hotel, even below ground. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on Getting Hollyweird in our return to New Orleans episode. We are gearing up for more Hollyweird episodes and more guests, along with more new investigations. You definitely don't want to miss out, guys. I definitely have a couple of shout outs to make at the moment. A big shout out to Spooky Foodie and our friend Zachariah the Witch. In October, they are definitely planning a major paranormal investigation and dinner and presentation at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. We covered an interview with them a couple of episodes back based on our investigation at not only the Rainbow, but also the whiskey. And if you follow them, you can get more information about the event. It is definitely going to be very delicious. Bryce and myself will definitely be there. Also, don't miss out on the Gold Country Paracon if you're in and around our neck of the woods, Los Angeles, Sacramento. It will definitely be held September 13th through the 15th in Jackson, California. If you head on over to goldcountryparacon.com, you could get more information on hotels, vendors, speakers, and the event itself, along with tickets. A huge shout out to our new patrons, Michael and Darren. Thank you so much for helping support the podcast. Guys, if you want to help support Hollyweird Paranormal Podcast, you can do so by signing up to be a Patreon member. You can actually subscribe to be a part of our secret podcast society through Patreon, and it is the Saturday Night Ghost Club. If you can't get enough of our haunted stories, we collected more and put them in this delicious secret podcast society, so you can actually binge listen to a lot of these spooky tales. You definitely want to sign up for as little as $1 or more per month. For how many more months you wish to donate, we don't care. We are just happy that you're a Hollyweirder like ourselves and that you're supporting us, and we're so appreciative of that. You can head on over to www.patreon.com/Hollyweird Paranormal. You can read up on more information about becoming a Patreon member, and you can sign up through there. You can also find more information about us and the podcast at hollyweirdparanormal.com. You can browse our store, browse our bios, and also catch up with past episodes and seasons. If you want to follow us on our socials, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Hollyweird Paranormal, and we're at HWP Podcast on X. Now, if you wish to learn more about me and Bryce, you can follow us on our personal socials. I'm under Haunted LA Girl on TikTok. Through there, you could follow me through my spooky travels and ghost stories. I'm currently doing a recap on old unsolved mystery episodes through the Stack era. You could also follow Bryce on his Instagram at The Smirking Assassin. And if you're in and around the Los Angeles area, he's also gearing up for some more shows through his theater group of Firefly Productions. You definitely don't want to miss that out, of course. We are also open to submissions, guys, of your ghost stories. We're aching and itching for another Listener's Tales episodes. We love those. We miss doing those episodes, and we want your ghost stories. So send them over to hollyweirdparanormal@gmail.com. We must continue to scare the living bejesus and Dolly Parton out of Bryce, and we need your ghost stories to do so. So send them over. All right, friends, we are hoping that you're having one hell of a spooky and safe summer or summerween. We, as of right now, from what I'm looking, we are officially at 18 Fridays away from Halloween. We can't wait. I already have my boxes out filled with my Halloween decor, and I'm just anticipating for the moment that I get to put them up immediately, which is probably very, very soon. Okay. We are hoping that you guys are having a wonderful week, month, and year. Always remember to take care of yourselves and each other and stay weird. But most of all, friends, stay Hollyweird. Till next time, take care.